This woman helped a sick cheetah. What happened next will shock you. We usually think of big cats as dangerous creatures that could easily hurt anyone who crossed their path. So, it seems impossible that a human and a cheetah could become best friends, right? Well, that's exactly what happened in this story. Olga was an animal-loving woman who worked at a small zoo in a Russian town. One day, the zoo welcomed a new resident, a male cheetah named Ishel. Everyone was excited to meet the majestic animal and watch how he'd adjust to his new home. But something unusual happened when he arrived. Instead of exploring the new smells and surroundings, Ishel just lay down as soon as he was released. Things got even more concerning the next morning when staff noticed the cheetah hadn't moved all night. At first, they assumed he was simply scared or stressed from the move, so they tried to tempt him with breakfast. But the big cat had no interest in food. This set off alarm bells for the staff, who quickly called a veterinarian to examine him. After checking the cheetah, the vet told the worried team that Ishel was breathing heavier than normal. He suspected that the cheetah had caught a cold during transport, which had now turned into a serious case of pneumonia. The vet said Ishel urgently needed medicine to fight the infection. But there was a big problem. Ishel refused to eat or drink, which meant he couldn't take the medication. The longer he went without treatment, the worse his condition became. He lost a lot of weight, his fur turned dull and rough, and his eyes became red. Whenever he tried to stand, his legs would buckle and he'd collapse. All the staff were deeply concerned. They didn't know how to help if Ishel wouldn't eat, but no one was more worried than Olga. She knew if something wasn't done soon, the cheetah might actually die. Realizing they were out of options, and despite the risk, Olga suggested hand-feeding Ishel to make sure he got the medicine he so badly needed. The zookeepers did not approve of the idea, as they felt the risk would be far too great. Wild animals are hard to predict even at the best of times, but they can become even more agitated and reckless when they are sick or injured. However, Olga could see no other way to help the cheetah recover. Ignoring everyone else's concerns, she decided to take matters into her own hands. One day, when none of the keepers were around Ishel's cage, Olga quietly snuck into the area and opened the cage door. She carefully stepped inside and slowly crept closer to the big cat. Ishel didn't even twitch in her direction and instead continued lying in his spot. Once Olga was close enough, she pulled out a piece of meat she had brought into the cage with her. She gently offered it to the cheetah, but he only bared his teeth slightly, as if telling her to leave him alone. Refusing to give up until he ate or drank something, Olga dipped the meat into some water, hoping it would make it more appealing. When she offered it again, something amazing happened. The cheetah licked the water off the meat. It wasn't much, but it was something. After that, he took a small bite of the meat as well. It was the first food he had eaten in quite some time. After the small bite, Ishel seemed satisfied and turned away from Olga and the meat. Even though it was only a little, Olga was overjoyed. She left the cage, locked it behind her, and hurried to the vet to get medicine for Ishel. She had already come up with a plan to give it to him without him noticing. Each time Olga returned to feed Ishel, she mixed a small amount of medicine into the meat soaked in water. Unaware that anything had changed, the cheetah happily nibbled on the food she brought him. Before long, the medicine began to work. Ishel slowly recovered and became more alert. He was much more active than when he first arrived and started showing interest in his surroundings. A few days later, when Olga came to feed him again, the cheetah stood up and walked over to her. He gently bumped his head against her legs, almost as if he were saying thank you. Olga was stunned and gently petted his head, and to her amazement, the big cat began to purr like a kitten. From that moment on, Olga entered Ishel's cage every day, always greeted by the affectionate cheetah. She knew that a strong bond had formed between them, and that he eagerly waited for her arrival like a long-lost friend. As Ishel's condition continued to improve, Olga couldn't have been happier. She had saved his life, and he was clearly grateful. But then everything took a turn for the worse. During the summer, a year after Ishel arrived at the small zoo, a decision was made that would break both Olga's and the cheetah's hearts. The zoo told Olga they simply didn't have enough money to keep him. They couldn't afford his food, care, or any future medical treatment. Knowing Ishel couldn't stay, the zoo revealed that they had sold Ishel to a circus. It wasn't long after the sale that the beautiful cheetah was taken away to his new home. On the day he was collected, they loaded him into a transport cage. As if he knew he was about to be separated from his best friend, Ishel thrashed around and growled. Olga was heartbroken and couldn't hold back her tears as she watched the stunning animal being taken away. Because the circus traveled around the country, Olga had no way of knowing where they would be at any given moment. That meant she had no chance to visit him. 4 long years passed. Then one day, Olga heard news that a circus was back in town. She found out the circus was bringing some of their animals to the zoo to be filmed. She also overheard that, along with the other animals, a blind cheetah was being brought in. Apparently, the cheetah had lost his sight 2 years earlier after falling seriously ill. Thankfully, he had survived. Olga soon discovered that the animal was being kept in a room nearby. She couldn't believe her luck. Could it really be Ishel? She quickly followed a circus employee to the room where the big cat was staying. At first, when Olga entered, the cheetah didn't react. He continued eating his food. But the moment Olga spoke to the circus worker and asked about the animal, the cheetah suddenly perked up. He stopped eating and turned toward her voice. Then he let out a sharp meow that caught everyone's attention. Olga was overwhelmed with joy. She rushed to the cage, opened it, and ran inside to be with the friend she thought she had lost forever. Ishel was just as thrilled to be reunited. He walked over to the woman he loved so much, gently nudged her legs, and purred as she stroked his head. Amazingly, even after 4 years, the cheetah still remembered his old friend. It just goes to show that kindness, care, and compassion can go a long way, no matter the species. What a beautiful story. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing stories.